Hey everyone, welcome back to On the Fence Movie Reviews. I am Adrian, joined by my co-host Rob. Today we're going to be talking about episode 8 of WandaVision. Before we jump right into it, let's throw that out there. Spoiler alert, we're going to talk about a lot of things that happen in this episode, and we are going to talk spoilers. So if you haven't seen the episode yet and you don't want it to be spoiled, go home or go and watch it and then come back and watch our review. All right, jump right into it. So, episode 7, Agatha reveals herself to Wanda. And so she's now like, okay, you're not the only witch in town. So here it is. So this episode continues right off of that in the basement of Agatha's house there, or wherever she is in her little lair. And she's starts questioning Wanda basically and saying, how did you do all of this? And so Wanda is like, I don't remember. So Agatha, she performs a spell by pulling a strand of Wanda's hair and creates a door, basically a portal into Wanda's history. And so, hence the name of the episode, Previously On, which is basically a flashback episode. We're seeing flashbacks of Wanda's life and incidences in her life that affected her emotionally, and there are big things that changed her life. And it's actually a really great episode. But Rob, let's get right into it. What were your thoughts of this episode?
Well, I'm gonna pretty much echo the word you just used. It was a great episode.
Yeah.
When I started, we kind of at the very beginning we get Agatha's a little tiny bit of her backstory and how she's a witch and
Yeah.
just kind of a little bit of what she went through. Not too much, but I did like that. Also, I when this episode started to they're in her witch's lair, if you will, and Wanda's trying to do her magic, and we get a little the word I think you use all the time is it was expa. Dang it! Like expedition. No, I was
Exposition.
exposition. There you go.
Yeah.
Kind of explaining stuff to us, and I don't like it when they kind of make me feel like, well, you don't have to explain that to me. But I think they did a great job in giving us with Agatha
Yes.
a lot of information and a lot of like stuff that we were kind of had questions on, and they used her in a way to kind of fill in some holes for
Yeah,
us.
and I thought that was great how they started with the flashback
Right.
of like her, because again it is a flashback episode. We see flashbacks of Wanda's
Hmm.
life, but flashbacking to Agatha, really to her beginnings of as Salem, Massachusetts,
Right.
like 16 something. And they're like, you betrayed your coven. And so like
Right.
they're
Right.
basically, I don't know if they're trying to kill her or what. They have her at the stake, and they're all kind of using their powers, but then you see Agatha's basically draining them of her
Right.
powers. And I
Right.
think the main witch there was like her mother, because she
Mhm.
says mom or mother. And when she starts floating, I don't know if you remember where you see when she kind of like throws her like power ray or whatever you want to call
Right.
it.
Right. Yeah.
It almost looks like she has like a crown, but also very similar to um, the kind of like the cowl that Wanda wears.
Right.
So it
Right.
looked something very similar to that. So I
Yes.
wonder how that's going to kind of play into this. But like what you're saying, to get to see that without going super deep into it as far as
Yes.
like exposition goes, and like kind of giving a, oh, this is what happened and this is why it happened and whatever. It's just, this is Agatha. We know it sets it up. She's a very powerful being, powerful witch, and that's pretty much all we need to know at this point.
Right. And I do like how while she's doing this and kind of explaining to us and also explaining to Wanda, because for Wanda, these are just in her mind abilities that she's just kind of uh received through one of the stones, and she never really I guess harnessed this certain ability. She's learned to use it, but never to fully use the power. And we see that Agatha is like, no, you like, she knows she's powerful and she's trying to
Yeah.
figure out like how and why. And throughout the season, we thought maybe Agatha was like pulling the strings on Wanda, but it looks like she was just trying to figure out who Wanda is, who Wanda is
Yeah.
and her abilities. As this episode starts going, and we kind of go through Wanda's life, in flashbacks, the first thing that popped into my mind, and I've heard this from other people, but at the very moment I started seeing this, I was like, this is almost like a Christmas Carol, just for witches. I like, just the going back
Yeah.
and in, showing the light, and it just, that's just something that reminded me of. And I'm referring to the Christmas Carol, the Muppets Christmas Carol, which is the greatest Christmas Carol of
Well,
all.
that's debatable, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Anyways,
it
so
is a great
yeah,
one.
yeah. So, anyways, but that's kind of what I got the feel. And you know what? We see, and we get a little explanation that maybe Wanda had some abilities. Now, again, you listen to other people, I listen to other people and their thoughts, and I, was she possibly, did she have some kind of like gene, or was something passed along to her through bloodline,
Okay.
before, because we get a little bit from Agatha, like, oh, like this was in you before this, and this stone just kind of enhanced you, and
Uh huh.
to me, I was just like, whoa, like that, does that open this world to other people like that? Is there people born with abilities that, just maybe they didn't get to enhance them because they didn't know about them? And so
Yeah.
I just overall, I felt this was a really great episode that touched on a lot of points. And it was a powerful and very sad episode.
Yes. This was probably the most emotional episode out of all of them. The fact that they do the whole flashbacks and they go too deep into all of Wanda's pain, really.
Right.
And it starts from when she was a little girl. And that part, too, is really kind of hits is when um, you kind of know what's coming, right? Like the dad comes home with all the DVDs of all the different sitcoms,
Yes,
and
yes.
she wants to watch the Dick Van Dyke Show, and it's and so it kind of explains really why sitcoms for Wanda, because it kind of takes her back to a time when she felt whole. She
Right,
had her
right,
whole family together, and she felt that love, and that she wasn't empty, and it kind of like a simpler time, so to speak, for her. And then even after, when their house gets hit and destroyed, her parents are dead, and her brother are hiding under the bed, I believe it is, and she's like, don't worry, when this episode's over, it'll be like a bad dream, and we'll wake up and everything will be fine.
right.
And so I think that's kind of what they're talking about for Wanda, really, is like this whole thing is, her kind of coping, with something that always brought her joy, and
Right.
that was television sitcoms. And so it kind of always kind of goes back to that. And then as they go through the different doors, you see when she was with the Hydra facility and they're kind of experiencing, you touched on it with the whole Infinity Stone, when they
Right.
wanted her to touch the scepter and the Tesseract there inside the scepter. But there was that moment that you touched on, and then also she's watching the Brady Bunch in
Right.
that whole thing, and then it goes further into the Avengers compound when she has that very emotional moment with Vision, where I think Vision tells her something like, but what is sorrow? It's it's just love persevering." And it's just kind of like it hits you, and you're like, man, this this is really
Yeah.
emotional.
Yeah.
It's telling you that she's hurting, she's really hurting. And then finally, which is very interesting to me, and this is the thing I want to kind of talk about, was when they flash back to her going back to the sword facility to go
Right.
get
Right.
Vision's body, and she's like, I couldn't find his body anywhere, or like, you guys had it. So when she's like, when I came back, his body wasn't there. So, and I know you guys have him. And we remember Wanda got dusted, so she was
Right.
gone. So when she came back, it was like Sword's this new thing, and they're basically tearing Vision apart, trying to get him to work.
Ooh, that scene was powerful.
Yeah, when she's like,
Powerful.
what are you guys doing? I can't feel you. And that's like, it's just so emotional. But the interesting thing is Hayward, in the previous episodes, when he kind of says, well, Wanda broke in and stole the body and all this, but from what we see late in the next scene, where she goes to this place in Westview, where I guess her and Vision bought this, this plot of land to build a home. As it says, to grow old together, and we see that heart that we've
Right.
seen on the calendar, and
Hmm.
then another time I think in the last episode, it's the same sort of heart that says to grow old with, and that is really emotional. And then we see her kind of create this hex, but then forming Vision out of herself, and so that is, I think, a very interesting thing. And I don't know how it works, and I'm not super deep into the comics, but I don't know if it's when she had that stone, that interaction, because when Vision starts forming, like there's like that yellow
Right.
kind
Right.
of stuff coming out of her almost, and Vision is sort of formed. So I don't know if it's like when she reached out to that stone, and like was that kind of like power transferred over to her, but then that kind of left her to kind of form this hex, but also that part of Vision, and maybe that's why Vision is a little bit of like sort of a independent being, but she helped create it.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. These are just my working thoughts here, but I don't know what your thoughts on the whole thing.
You know what? I'm with you, man. As far as like, I don't know too much. I know in the comics, Vision and Wanda have, their own backstory, their own storylines. I'm not too familiar with it. Again, I once I seen the show was happening, and I, started watching other people who knew more and wanted to get some information.
Yeah,
Um, and it's for me. I think it's awesome. I'm waiting to see, obviously the next episode is going to be, um I'm hoping, and I think it will be, if we kind of have a standard that the show's been getting better and better with each episode. I feel like every week I'm saying, oh, that this episode is my favorite episode, this episode is my
yeah,
favorite. So again, I will say this episode is my favorite episode of WandaVision. But the as far as I'm curious to see, like, once this hex goes down, the vision that she created will he live? Because now we see that, like, she's probably created her children. Are her children going to live? Is she just going to expand this hex to cover the whole world, so the whole world is one hex? And is that how we're going to get other possible, other multiverse kind of things, and other
yeah.
characters from different universes? And one question, a big question I have, is, so with Pietro, or what did Agatha call him, like Pietro, or because he's,
Pietro,
yeah, because he's fake
because he's
Pietro.
fake Pietro.
So who is he? Where did she pull
Well,
him from?
yeah. Well,
I,
she had said something. Well, she's like, well, that was you. She's like, well, it wasn't all me. It was just my eyes and my mouth or whatever. But I forget exactly how she explained it, but it was more like,
but she could be lying though. Like, that's the thing, is we don't know. Like, she
yeah,
could be. I highly doubt she's being completely honest with Wanda about, what she,
everything.
yeah,
Yeah,
about everything. So that's the thing, is like, okay, what's gonna happen? What's going on? And then just her whole, and if I could be mistaken, but just when Agatha has Wanda's children, because towards the end of the episode she
yeah.
has Wanda's children, and she actually refers to her as the Scarlet Witch, which
Yes, and this is the first time that
right.
in the MCU has ever referred to her as the Scarlet Witch. That's why it was a very big moment.
Yes.
But also, as she's kind of describing, like, hey, the pure power of creation, is a whole nother level. And she's even telling her, like, you're supposed to be a myth. So she's building up the character
Right. Right.
so that when she says you're the Scarlet Witch, I guess that kind of means like that's like the most powerful witch or something. But like kind of like because when she tells her you're a myth, so it's
Right.
like
Right.
building up that character. So when we finally get that name drop, that is kind of like, oh, okay, that's who she is.
See, and this is just one thought. Like, this is just something, a thought that I've had, because I've seen people say, like, oh, well, look, this proves that maybe mutants have been around and Scarlet Witch is a mutant. But like, for me, because Doctor Strange is, I mean, he's a wizard, which is
Yeah,
like a witch.
Yeah.
So, and he wasn't born that way or anything. So, you know, because I had that thought too. I was like, well, maybe like, you know, I'm trying to keep myself like on the level, but I also I'm getting pumped up because I'm like, man, like they could bring, you know,
Trying not to fight into all these buy into
yeah,
all these theories
yeah.
and
So I'm just like,
thoughts and go down the
man,
wormhole.
but at the same time, I'm honestly just enjoying every episode,
Yes.
and every episode is just getting better and better. And you're right, like what you said, when Agatha drops that name of the Scarlet Witch, you know it carries weight with it because
Yeah.
she just the way she says it and the way she's talking to Wanda, she's like, you're not supposed to be real. Like, you know, earlier in the episode, Agatha's doing some magic in front of Wanda, and she's telling her like this takes years of practice to do, and it's very simple stuff that will seem simple that what she's doing, but she's like, you know, this is very simple stuff.
Yeah.
And then she, then she proceeds to say how Wanda is doing like this just automatic magic stuff
She's just
without even
saying like you're
trying.
on autopilot, I think is what she
Yeah,
says. Like magic
yes.
on autopilot.
So it's like
And
how crazy, like how powerful and how strong is Wanda really? And she doesn't like the way Agatha speaks about her and talks to her is like Wanda hasn't even scratched her
mhm.
potential of the
Yeah, and the
power
way
that
she
she
tells her
has.
at the end there, she's like the power of pure creation or however she says it, and you're using it to make breakfast or
Yeah.
something like that. And but yeah, a lot of what you're saying is true. Like I'm trying not to go too deep under the internet of
Right, right.
like, oh, okay, like I just have my thoughts, and my thoughts are for I know we had been talking, and everybody knows that WandaVision is going to play a part in or Wanda is going to play a part in the new Doctor Strange film.
Right, right.
So a lot of people feel like that's going to tie into that film, or this is going to tie into that film, and you know people are kind of maybe expecting an appearance from Doctor Strange, but I don't think that at all. Well, I think there may be, but I think the way we're starting to get these post credit scenes,
Hmm.
I think that the show will set something up, and then we'll get Doctor Strange and possibly a post credit scene. Like
Okay.
I don't think he's gonna be in the episode. I don't think that. I think it'll be more of a post credit scene, very much so like we saw on oh God, what was it? Was it Thor Ragnarok or no? It was no, it was Doctor Strange where we see Thor in the end of Doctor Strange,
Right, right,
and then he kind of ties into Thor Ragnarok, where he's looking for Loki and all that. But
right.
I think it'll be something very similar where you have this big name Marvel character, you know where it ties in, but it's just going to be in the post credit scene. But we have to talk about post credit scenes because we didn't
Yes,
talk about it
yes,
yet.
yes.
Here in this episode, we got Vision, and again, it's Hayward, and he's talking like, let's start the team up. So I guess they're gonna get ready to invade. So this is the big climax. Because remember, I think this next episode is the final episode of the series.
Right, right.
So he's like, we're getting the team ready. I guess they're gonna break through the plane and try to bring down Wanda. Um, but here we have what Hayward's talking is like, we've tried every energy source known to man and nothing worked, but we never went straight to the source. And we see that little drone that Wanda destroyed and kind of threw it back out of the hex. I mean, it's still
Right.
kind of surging with energy, obviously the power that Wanda used, and they are drawing that energy now to bring back to life this vision. And we see the vision that they created or put back together,
Right.
and now he's alive and functioning, and he's completely white, and we see him alive. But again, I don't know the full details of that, but I did again seeing stuff online. I've seen
Right.
people
Right.
post things of a white vision, and same thing. So how's that going to work? I don't know. Is Wanda going to have to kill Vision again, or is this separate Vision that she created? How again? Is there so many things that they could go with this?
I mean, the first thing I thought of was, okay, well, Vision is gonna have to fight Vision. Um,
Okay.
and then also too, I think like this is just based off watching the episode. Um, uh, I think so. The Vision. Now we know the truth that the Vision inside the Hex, Wanda created from pretty much herself.
Yeah.
The Vision that so he has, I think, in my opinion, he has some kind of um uh caring. He cares. He has, I was feeling, he's compassionate, and I feel like in some way he has a mind of his own, or a
Yeah.
thought process of his own, where we haven't seen anything from this White Vision. But I feel like this White Vision has, and they've said this in, I'm trying to think, I think it was Endgame,
Hmm.
where Bruce Banner saying, like, you take out the stone, the best parts of Vision are there. But Vision was killed. So now when they bring him back to life, is this just going to be like a robotic Vision? Because
Yeah.
it doesn't, like, this isn't the real Vision. The Vision was killed.
Hmm.
Wanda made a Vision, and then now Hayward, I guess, put Vision's body back together, and we don't know if he's gonna have the same thoughts as the
Yeah.
old Vision, or is he just gonna be complete, like, you know robot, like T-1000, just I'm here to destroy. So that's kind of where I'm like, I want to see what happens, and
Yeah.
I feel like there's going to be a
Yeah,
Vision versus
I think
Vision
there's a lot
battle.
going to happen, because again, we still have a lot of characters that are still there that weren't even in this episode. We had Monica,
Hmm.
who's still in the hex, and we had that moment of Snooper's gonna snoop in the post credit scene in the past
Yes.
episode. So what happened with her? Did Agatha somehow capture her, or what happened in that moment? We don't know what happened
Right.
after that moment. Um, Randall Park's character, Agent Wu, Jimmy Wu, he's still outside of the hex, and what's going to happen with him? What is he going to do? How is his involvement? How is he going to? Obviously, they're going to try to stop Hayward and Agatha, but how is this all going to work? And then you have Darcy, who's also inside the hex still, but has been freed from the mind control. So how is it going to work? How are these pieces going to play? Again, it's a climactic episode that's coming ahead here, and we'll see.
Here's a question for you, and I'll answer it too. Do you think, okay, so do you think next week's the season finale?
Yes.
Um, do you think at the end of that season finale, because I mean, I don't know about you, but we're kind of all, we all kind of, we all know that Wanda is going to be in the next Doctor Strange movie,
Yeah.
but will Wanda be the antagonist for Doctor Strange too?
It. You know. It, I
Because
think that would be interesting. I
Because
think
if
that
you
would be interesting,
if you
and
think about it now, like, she's not the good guy. Like, bad things have happened to her, and you feel sad for her, but she's not the good guy. Like, she's not like the person you're like, oh yeah, like, go Wanda. You're kind of like, hold on, like, if she wasn't an Avenger, would we be okay with her
what she's
doing?
doing.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
if you took Agatha and put her in Wanda's spot, you would be like, man, this lady's evil. So
Yeah.
I feel like, because Wanda's an Avenger, we're just kind of like, oh well, it's cute, it's Wanda, but
You know.
I mean, who knows what is?
You know what? I think that would be very similar to the way you feel in Civil War,
Okay,
right? Where
right.
you have these two good good characters, right, that are pitted against each other, and you kind of
Mhm.
have to choose a side. Um, and Wanda's position is one that is sympathetic. You feel sorry for her. You
Right,
understand why she's doing what she's doing, even though it's not, you know, right that what she's doing, because
right.
she's basically controlling people against their will.
Mhm.
But you understand where she's coming from. But that being said, it's still kind of wrong. So you kind of like, but you know what I'm saying? Like there's that conflict,
Right.
and when you see both sides and perspectives, and when they kind of clash, you're kind of like forced to choose. Do I go with this one or that one? And so it's just I think that would be interesting if Wanda kind of plays the villain, but will they do that? I don't think so.
Yeah, yeah. I
And
mean,
maybe they'll carry Agatha over into this one, like and this kind of forces Doctor Strange to get involved, is because at the climax of this thing, it kind of creates a tear. And looking online, a lot of people are talking about Nexus and how Nexus is
yeah.
kind of like an interdimensional kind of space and being thing going on there, and maybe them fighting against each other, Wanda and Agatha, creates kind of that terror in this space time continuum, if you will, or that
Hmm.
current universe, and it starts creating a lot of havoc. And now they got to kind of like work together to kind of control it or close it out or what have you, or maybe they're sucked into the Nexus, them two, and then Doctor Strange has got to go in and pull them out. I don't know. There's lots of things that they can do here,
Yeah, yeah.
and I'm just excited to see what's going to happen. You know what? This is a really great series that is finishing strong, and I'm excited, and I know it's going to finish strong. Hopefully, I don't want to jinx it and be like, "That's the greatest episode ever," and then they finish something really dumb, like, "Oh, it was all really a dream and nothing ever actually
Yeah,
happened."
Wanda was asleep the whole time.
Yeah, that would be really terrible. But you know what? I don't think they'll do that. I think it is going to be a really strong finale. I'm excited and I can't wait to watch it. Rob, do you have any other thoughts?
No, say I'm just gonna echo exactly what you said. I'm excited. I'm glad that it's progress. This show, I think, has done it perfectly. It's
Yeah.
progressively gotten better from the beginning till now. And all you got to do is finish this one last week out strong. And then in my opinion, we have a perfect season.
Yes. Well, there you go. And then you quit while you're ahead, because from what I understand, it's only going to be one season. So there we go. There we go. Well, guys, why don't you let us know what you thought of the latest episode, and what do you think of WandaVision as a whole? Has it been a really strong series for you, or has it just been kind of like, I don't get the hype? Why don't you comment down below and let us know, and we'll start that conversation. Also, don't forget to click like, subscribe, and share with all of your friends, and follow us on Instagram at On the Fence Movie Reviews.
And remember, we'll catch you on the fence. WandaVision.